Are you one of those photographers who never has time to pursue your hobby? Or a photography enthusiast who only picks up the camera on the weekends? That is when you have no shots to do. Yeah, well, I'm in that group too. Hi, my name is Luis, and I'm an amateur photographer like most of you, and I live in Portugal. I've been passionate about photography since 2005, when I started taking my first photos with digital cameras. The topic that brings me here today is how can we non-professionals use our free time to pursue our favorite hobby and continue learning and developing our photography skills? The answer is simple, in a way, but it requires a shift in perspective in how we see the world around us. Learning to see what's interesting on your way home from work, for example. Some of these things are there every day and you pass them by without even noticing them. Developing this way of seeing and noticing the most mundane and simple things takes some time and practice, but it's not that difficult. I am also an avid YouTube consumer, mostly photography videos, of course. And a few months ago, I found this channel by a Swedish guy named Jimmy West, who recently started his YouTube adventure. In some of his most recent videos, he also talks about this very topic, learning to see the different subjects and scenarios that are interesting all around us without having to travel to exotic or epic locations like the big YouTubers do, which we mere mortals cannot do, unfortunately. So he developed this project, which he called Spaces in Between, where he seeks to develop this different way of observation in search of interesting subjects or scenes that are photogenic in the most mundane and less obvious places. It's all about trying to see the world differently and appreciating the beauty of everyday life, which we so often overlook, and yet it's right there on our doorsteps. How did I embrace this philosophy and this new way of seeing the world in search of good subjects to photograph? Well, it was both simple and complicated. Simple because it's not that difficult to change the way we see the world around us. You just need to keep an open mind and an open spirit and have a great passion for photography. And it was also complicated because this change comes from frustration when we don't have the time or financial means to travel to different places whenever we want. Well, frustrations aside, leaving the house whenever I can with my camera in hand and rediscovering the beauty of the less obvious was the best step I've taken lately on my journey through the world of photography. I started looking for shapes and textures in the streets of my small town. I observed how light transforms objects and landscapes differently throughout the day, noticing the less obvious scenes, the less spectacular objects, and how, in a calmer and more reflective way, I could transform something that almost no one notices into an interesting image with a message or a story, or at least some kind of narrative for the viewer to interpret. So I started practicing, and after a short time, I was able to spot these less obvious scenes. And with the knowledge I gained over the years, I gradually improved my composition skills, the juxtaposition of light and shadow, the combination of colors, shapes, lines. And so I returned to this hobby that I love so much, freeing myself from the frustration of not being able to go to more epic places. I began to enjoy photography again, in a more light, calm and relaxed way. And in a way, I managed to rediscover what truly gives me pleasure when I pick up my camera. That's the process of photography and not the end result. Well, deep down, we'd all love to take that spectacular photo in the Italian mountains at sunset, or in Iceland, or downtown Tokyo, or New York, or whatever. But the truth is, not all of us can afford to travel to the most well-known places, or we don't live in fantastic cities or islands. Maybe one day we'll be able to go there. But in the meantime, what we can do is discover the unknown that we ourselves never even noticed before, and that is so much more accessible to us than to others. I hope that with this video I've inspired you to do the same, and that you rekindle your passion for photography again, as I did. Thank you to Jimmy for the inspiration and for accepting my participation in his Spaces in Between project. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's free. You can do it. Till next time, happy shooting.